You may very well be one of many people who are essentially afraid that they're going to outlive their money. And you could actually be fairly young and still have this fear that you're going to outlive your money. And there's a couple of things here. Number one, if you have a fear that you're going to outlive your money, we've got to first and foremost stop focusing on the mark we don't want to hit, and we got to start putting our attention toward the mark we do want to hit. If you want to, essentially outlive your money, keep focusing on it. And this is like what the mechanism of fear does. It's like we're afraid of something. I'm going to outlive my money, as an example. And then fear has us accidentally focus and obsess about the very thing that we don't want to have occur. But a weird thing about the mind is that the mind doesn't differentiate what our intention is as opposed to what we are putting our focus on. And so we might put our focus on, I don't want to live out, my money. I don't want to outlive my money. But what the mind focuses on is outlive money. And so the intention there is to solve for the challenge. But if we're focused on the challenge, the mind prioritizes the challenge, not the intended solution. And so the first thing to do is to make that adjustment and get clear on, well, what is the outcome that you want to achieve, and name it as clearly and specifically as you can, so that the mind starts to create an orientation around how do I produce that outcome, and it makes that outcome and that result the priority, such as, hey, I want to be able to spend $100,000 a year, until, I'm 120, and you're probably not going to make it to 120. So clearly your money's going to outlive you. Or you could focus on, I want to make sure I can spend $100,000 a year for the rest of my life with ease. Like I don't even have to think about it. Or we start focusing on, what can I do to make sure that at least $100,000 is coming in indefinitely, right? How do I potentially invest my money so that the interest from those investments is 100,000 or more every single year, and the system is producing that for the rest of my life. And so focus on the result that you want to attain. And many people, when I ask them, like, what is the result that you want to attain relative to, money, or the amount of money you want to spend, or the life you want to live as a result of the money you're making for the rest of your life, most people haven't thought of it. They don't have an answer to those questions. And so regardless of your age, think about how, like imagine how old you might be. Are you going to be 80? Are you going to be 90? Are you going to be, one of those that hits the 100 mark and the live forever people, and you're going to be 110? Okay, well, what's the lifestyle you want to live as you age? Like, first and foremost, don't think about the money, think about the lifestyle you want to be inside of. Then think about, well, what's the practical amount of money in which I'm going to need to make sure I have access to the lifestyle that I want to make sure that I'm inside of. Most people, it's a lot less than they think. For some people, it's more than they think. But the point is, if you focus on the life you want to live and what you want that to look like, and what is the money in which is required to live that way, and how can I produce or create the system that's going to ensure that I have that specified amount, you're going to figure it out. That's your first major step to making sure that you achieve it, and not focusing on the outcomes in which you don't want to have occur. And so I understand that this seems like kind of obvious once it's laid out or once somebody says it, and you also might be thinking like, yeah, but it's really hard not to focus on, those things that I fear. But it's only hard because we haven't practiced it. It's only hard because we don't have that target named, or that bullseye called vision and outcome clearly defined for ourselves, and we haven't done it yet. But once you do it, that can become as easy and as effortless as focusing on our fears. And so you can use this obviously as it pertains to money and not outliving your money, but this same tactic works and is the first step to managing fear, period, no matter what the fears are that may come up in your life. And so if you have that fear of, man, I'm going to outlive my money, stop and take a moment and go, okay, what's the result that I want to achieve? What's the life I want to live? What's the amount of money that I want to have come in, every year for the rest of my life that's going to give me access to that lifestyle? And then start to ask the question, what can I do to fulfill that outcome? What can I do to fulfill that outcome? Because that's a different focus than, what are the ways in which I'm going to lose my money? How is it that I'm going to end up outliving my money? Because your mind can't focus on both things at once. It either has to focus on how it's producing the result of the wealth you want to build, or it has to focus on, how you're going to lose your money, essentially. But it can't focus on both realities and concepts at the same time. And so gain control over your own mind and answer for that fear by way of, let's get clear on the outcome you want to create and the things in which you could do from here to create those outcomes. What can you do to start taking steps toward producing the reality that you want and that is 100% possible for you?